Hello friends, followers and channel members, welcome back to another video here on the channel. And a question that I've been getting asked a lot recently is, out of the recent hardware releases for the Airbus, which one is the best and which one is closest to the real FCU in the real aircraft? So we're going to take a look at the three different options available. That is the Mini FCU by MiniCockpits, the WinWing FCU, and also the WingFlex FCU Combo. We'll look at the pros and cons of each unit and try and work out which one would be best for you, and of course which one is the closest touch, feel and response to the real FCU unit used in the real Airbus aircraft. So let's start with the MiniCockpits MiniFCU, which was the first hardware released out of the three. This started as a Kickstarter project and basically took the Microsoft Flight Simulator community by storm. For those who didn't want to build a full-sized cockpit but still wanted a nice piece of hardware that would sit on their desk, this was the perfect solution. Not only that, but it was really well made, it was easy to set up, and basically as an entry piece of hardware for a lot of people, the fact that this came on the market first meant lots of people pulled the trigger and purchased this to assist with their virtual flying. Now, one of the biggest downsides people found out very quickly was that this unit, in order to get it to you, because of the shipping costs and taxes etc., depending on where you lived in the world, found it to be very expensive. Thankfully though, when the unit did arrive, I hope most people were pleasantly surprised by the quality of the unit they received. It is a small scale replica of the real world FCU, and that is exactly how it was advertised, but I found the build quality of this to be really good. The colouring looked good, the etching was really nice, including all the backlighting, and the tactile feel as well was quite close to the real FCU in the real aircraft. Setting up the unit was an absolute breeze. Download the software from the MiniCockpits website, connect the unit to your PC via the supplied USB cable, launch the software, and that was all you had to do. The software took care of everything, recognizing the simulator you were using and also the aircraft you were flying. At the time of its release, this didn't fully work with the Phoenix Airbus A320, however that is now a thing of the past and it works seamlessly. So the pros of this unit: the fact it is a mini cockpit means if you don't have much space, this is the perfect suggestion. It will sit quite neatly on your desk, under your monitor, works with a variety of different aircraft as well, and the actual build quality and realism in terms of how the dials look, and even right down to the LCD displays, are one-to-one in terms of comparing them to the real world aircraft. The cons then, of course, we've mentioned the high delivery fees. Let me know in the comments down below if you got stung for that. And also, of course, the fact it isn't a one-to-one scale replica of the real thing, but you do know that in advance. The push buttons are all hard plastic. It's basically a push and click sort of response. The only difference between that and the real FCU is that the autopilot buttons are a soft push on off, which this doesn't replicate. So if you have got the Mini FCU, then please do comment below, let other people know what you think of it, and obviously that will also help other people in deciding which unit to get. Moving on then, next to be released then was the WinWing FCU. Now this was full size, and its really strong selling point was the fact that, as hardware goes, it was ridiculously cheap. This then of course led to people wondering, what is the build quality of this actually going to be like? For a company to be able to produce this full-size FCU unit so cheaply, are we going to get sacrifices made with the actual build quality? Now when this did arrive, I was very surprised at just how good it all felt and looked. Everything felt very realistic, and of course there was a couple of minor things. The expedite button is missing. That is now available as an add-on. Not all airliners now have the expedite button, so it wasn't entirely unrealistic. The clicking sounds and the resistance, the tension that you get from the dials, you can see here me turning these, have to say, compared to the real FCU units in the real Airbus that I've played with, well, this one is probably the closest out of all three, which again, considering the price of it, is just insane really. So moving on to actually using the product, as you can see, it's not a huge unit. It doesn't take up that much space. It's certainly not as deep as the Mini FCU either, so it's still going to fit quite nicely on a standard sort of computer desk without getting in your way and being too obtrusive. And you've also got various mounting opportunities available for you there, as you can see on the back. You don't have to use the included brackets in the format that I've got them set up here. You can actually tailor it to your own needs. But what about actually using this and setting it up? Is it plug and play? Well, this is where I've had issues. So, as with all hardware, you need some kind of software to get it to link up and talk to your PC and interface with your flight simulator. Downloading the app from the website, the one thing that I've really missed is some documentation explaining how the SimApp Pro app actually works. It looks incredibly complicated, and I had a really hard time actually getting this all set up and working. When I eventually did get it all lit up and synced up with the flight simulator, I do have to say that this unit, probably out of the three, doesn't have the most realistic LCD display. I would say that it is far too orange compared to the real FCU, but again, at the price, that's a very minor little quibble. It depends how much realism you actually want. Now, the pros and cons. Obviously, the biggest pro of this is how cheap the unit is. It is the cheapest out of all three that we are reviewing today. The build quality of it as well is very, very good. And in terms of realism, comparing it to how I felt the real Airbus FCU, this one is probably, again, out of all three, the closest as well. The cons to it, the biggest barrier for me, is the software you need to run it. I've had nothing but issues trying to get this up and running. A lack of documentation on the website as well really doesn't help, and you're basically left to just fend for yourself, and with a bit of luck you will get it working. Now, there was a time when I had both this unit and the Mini FCU unit for me to choose between when I was doing my live streams, and I would always opt for the Mini FCU because it just worked. And that for me obviously meant it was reliable and there was no issues. But again, please do leave a comment down below letting me know how you've got on with this unit if you've gone ahead and purchased it. Finally then, we are looking at the WingFlex FCU Combo. Now, this unit is very expensive, there's no two ways about it. And with that expense, of course, comes expectation. You are getting more for your money because you've got both the captain's and the first officer's EFIS. So this unit's particular market is not that really for the average simmer, but mainly those who want to build a full-sized flight deck or have most of the components around them to facilitate that realistic environment. Now, I was sent this unit by WingFlex to have a play with for 3 or 4 weeks. I do a review video, which we did here on the channel, but then it wasn't mine to keep. I did have to return it. The first thing you notice with this unit is absolutely the build quality. It is a solid unit. Everything looks complete one-to-one replica of the real FCU and EFIS units that you get in the Airbus aircraft. In fact, they have been selling these to airlines to use with their trainee pilots because it is that close to the real thing. But then for the money that it costs, you would really expect nothing less. So I had very high expectations for this unit. Interestingly enough though, one of the things that did disappoint me is the fact that the resistance that you get from turning the dials, the altitude, heading, etc. is not the same as you get in the real world. It is actually quite loose. Not so much that you could knock it by mistake, but certainly not as stiff as both the Mini FCU and the WinWing unit, which are closer to its real world counterpart. One of the things I really did like is the autopilot buttons on this. They are not just a push-click button, you actually feel it's a soft push, and so it's basically a spring-loaded push rather than a click. Again, similar to the real world thing. The unit comes fully built with its own stand and supplied USB cable, and again, this unit is truly plug and play. Simply download the software from their website, plug it in, and that's all you need to do. Everything works right out of the box, which again is probably what you expect for the cost of the unit. Now, having used all three over the last few months, I had to make the decision which one did I want to use full time. Obviously, I would have to pay for the WingFlex full-sized combo if I wanted to keep that one. And when it came time to return this back to WingFlex, I actually couldn't do it. I thought that this unit, out of the three of them, is just amazing and as close to real life as you're going to get at home. So yep, I actually paid and bought this unit, and yeah, no looking back for me there. But of course, then that doesn't mean that it's right for everyone. Pros of this unit: it's just awesome. It really is a solid unit. Everything is as realistic as possible, aside from the fact that the tension in the dials isn't quite as strong as I would like it to be compared to the real world FCU. I can probably overlook that a little bit just because the build quality and everything else, and it's simplistic to use, is really good. The cons, of course, well, that's obviously going to be the price, and if you don't have much room, then also the size, because it is a full-scale 1-to-1 world replica. So now the question comes, which of these three is the best? Well, I personally think that probably depends on your own personal circumstances. If you don't have much space, then I would go for the MiniFCU every day, particularly as add-ons to this are coming: the Mini EFIS, the radio panel, the Mini overhead, etc. They are all planned for the future, and that though does come with the cost of both the unit itself and also the import and delivery taxes. If you are on a budget and want something a little more true to size, then the WinWing unit wins hands down. A great unit, full size 1-to-1 scale replica. The cost is just, I can't say anything negative about that, and the build quality for the cost as well is really good. And as I said earlier on in the video, personally the tactile feel of this unit is probably as close to real life as any of the three. Finally, then, of course, for the serious home cockpit builders, you've got the WingFlex unit. Of course, very expensive, but like me, perhaps if you actually did have this unit, you'd find it very hard to give back, and that is exactly what happened. That's the one that I now use on all my live streams. So there we go. I'd love to hear your views on all three units, particularly if you've got more than one of them, just to see what you think. They are the units available to us that have been released over the last year or so. Leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you have found this video of some use to you, and of course, if you have, please don't forget to leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so you don't miss any of our future videos and of course live stream flights. Thanks so much for watching. See you all in the next one.